Well, welcome back, everyone. You are watching Have You Heard, or listening to Have You Heard as well. I'm joined today by the wonderful Amber, who is our paid social director. For those of you who haven't met me before, I'm Joey. I'm paid media director here at The Social Shepherd. What are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about how we can utilize brand in performance marketing to feed into our full funnel strategy.
Nice. I think, many of the listeners, viewers would have heard us talking about full funnel strategies before. I think the main thing and probably the easiest thing to kick off with is what's the difference between brand and performance marketing?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, obviously, I'm sure a lot of performance marketers will be listening, and we have obviously a full paid team of performance marketers. So our kind of initial instinct is to kind of go forward with any client and create a performance-driven strategy, which basically means that we are optimizing towards the end goal for whatever client it is. So, for example, in e-commerce, that would be a sale of a product online or in store. And then you've got your holiday retailers, which are hoping to sell holidays. And then you've got kind of more lead gen clients that would possibly be in the education sector that are looking to make a person download a PDF. So there's different end goals depending on the industry and the client that you're working with. But the performance marketing strategy involves us putting together a strategy to complete that end goal for the client.
So I think certainly from a performance marketing side, it's very much more kind of product or service focused, obviously depending on which avenue and type of business you're trying to promote. But from that side of things, the type of content and the creative that we're pushing from that perspective, obviously mostly can be feed led, certainly if you're an e-commerce business. But outside of that, it is really trying to get someone to convert at the end of the day. Exactly. So you really just give and sell that offering to the consumer, which again is slightly different from the brand marketing side of things, because as it says on the tin, you're trying to market the brand.
Yes, exactly. And I think this really comes into importance when you're dealing with a lesser known brand or client within the space that they are. So we often get kind of smaller clients that are really looking to make themselves a brand name. They want to raise awareness of the product or service that they sell, and also the story behind the brand. And I think that's where brand marketing comes into play. We're looking to teach people and tell the story of these brands.
Sure. So I think, again, you guys listening will have probably heard us talking about our top, middle, bottom of the funnel strategy before. But typically we use that strategy within our performance marketing side of things. So that's very much more conversion focused. And when we talk about top of the funnel in that instance, on the grand scheme of things in the whole marketing landscape, it's not really top of the funnel. Yeah. There's so much more above that you can tap into. So I think typically with that top of the funnel activity that we have within our performance marketing funnel, we're only able to reach, around 30% of the audiences that we're trying to kind of tap into at that stage. If you're then wanting to kind of reach higher than that, then you kind of really have to breach into that brand funnel. Yeah. And then we're looking at different campaign objectives across paid social. And also actually when you're looking at it from a Google perspective as well, you're looking at YouTube and, you're looking at display discovery type campaigns to try and reach those wider audiences.
Yeah, definitely. Like as you mentioned, it's where different optimizations really come into their own. So you've got kind of brand awareness, reach objective. So the aim is to get your brand in front of as many eyes as possible, with the hope that they're going to recall that ad and recall that brand. You've also got engagement optimization. So they help to kind of, especially if you've got real strong video within it. So getting people to watch more of your video, you're likely to build up that ad recognition, brand recognition. And also it's where multiple platforms come into play as well. So especially with paid social, I think a lot of performance marketers use Meta as their bread and butter. As we know, it creates really good revenue on an elastic basis. But there are other channels that have really, really good reach potential, and they're often cheaper than Meta as well. So platforms, like Pinterest and TikTok, which typically have very cheap CPMs. So it means you can get really affordable reach that is comparatively less than Meta.
And you can really branch into the programmatic space as well, looking at DV360, and even creeping into the realms of digital out of home as well, really for that wider brand piece. So I guess my next question is, at what point do you think clients should start introducing brand marketing in their strategy? Mm-hmm. Would that maybe be from the start, or would you say that we need to introduce it further down the line?
Yeah, so I think it very much depends on the brand itself. So how well known is that brand? So that will depend on the kind of percentage that you would weight towards your brand optimized campaigns. But as a standard, you should always have a little bit of spend going towards your brand marketing. However, when you come into your peak season, so we're fast approaching the dreaded Black Friday and Christmas period, that is obviously one of the busiest times of year for many of our clients. During that time period, you want to be focused on your conversions. It's when a lot of clients can make the majority of their sales in a very short period of time. But if we're looking at now, if you've not done brand marketing before, this pre-Black Friday season is a really crucial time to be building those audiences so you can retarget them in our peak season and really kind of build up those audiences. So like you mentioned, we're maxing out around 30% if we're just doing conversion activity. So you can reach that other 70% if you branch out into those other optimizations during this period.
Yeah, for sure. We do quite a lot of close work with Pinterest as well. And the type of platform that Pinterest is very, inspiration led. So actually, when you're looking at early signals of people searching on Pinterest, that's actually when the intent levels are coming in, exactly. When they're trying to really, really find what they're looking for that peak period, really. So we can use all of those intent signals essentially to then start building trends as to when we want to start advertising. And funnily enough, the Christmas trend starts quite a lot earlier than what a lot of people would like to think. So
yeah, definitely. I think on Pinterest it was around August time. So now people are starting to think about holiday season, what they're going to be gifting, who they're going to be gifting to. So it's really crucial that you've got that kind of brand awareness live at this time now and thinking ahead to the holiday season.
So I guess performance, our end goal is trying to drive sales conversions. Mm-hmm. And typically the KPIs that we're looking at on that side of things are, our CPAs, our return on ad spend, our click-through rates, all of that kind of stuff. How does that then differ when we're looking at it from a performance marketing, a brand marketing perspective?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is really important to have the conversation with the client as well. So whilst all those metrics are still important when you're doing brand marketing, you've got to be looking at your other key metrics. So for example, if we're looking for people to really engage with a brand and learn more about it, and we're using video, the video view through rate, so your completion rate on a video is really important. If people are watching up to 15 seconds, which is a long time for people on social media, it's a really good sign that they're engaging with your content and they're learning more about the brand. Your cost per engagement. So really kind of hone in on what people are taking action on your ad. Are they saving it? Are they commenting on it? Are they saving it for later? All of these key kind of metrics that we maybe overlook when we're talking about performance marketing, they're really important. They come into their own when we're talking about the brand awareness. Also CPM. So CPM is really important. And typically when you're going after a new optimization like reach, you will see your CPMs drop massively. So it's much more affordable to reach a mass market. But it's really important that we're making sure we've got wide enough audiences that the CPMs are not going up. And your overall reach as well. When you're trying to get in front of as many eyeballs as possible, you want to make sure that your audiences are big enough to reach and you're not saturating any of your market.
Yeah, for sure. And realistically, the end goal of that point is trying to grow your brand and the awareness of that brand. I think one of the benchmarks that we try and use is actually then bringing that back into the search landscape. Yeah. So looking at search volumes and search trends around your branded terms and branded plus product terms, and that's really a good indicator of how much awareness you've driven based on, the increases that you're potentially seeing from that side of things. I think one of the fun things you can do as well, always, if you've been running brand activity for, a period of time, is just stick your brand name in Google Trends. And you can see the graph, hopefully, is going on an upward trend. And, you can then start mapping that to potentially if you were running any big campaigns around any certain periods of the year, whether any spikes in your brand searches. And again, you can use Google Search Console for kind of any more, granular data that you're trying to look for alongside that.
And you've also got, going back to our last podcast, but the measurement tools that you can use as well. So brand lift studies are really, really good way to kind of see the success of any brand marketing that you've been running. And like you say, just taking a very holistic approach, taking a step back and looking at overall kind of what you've seen in terms of growth.
Nice. So I guess we've spoken about performance marketing in its place. We've spoken about brand marketing in kind of its place. How would you then recommend that they work together? Because I think we've got a couple of clients that we work with that run both brand and performance marketing funnels.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to make sure, you're not stepping on each other's toes across each of those different funnels. How do we approach that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that is one of the beauties of having these different optimizations, especially with Meta. There's going to be crossover, but it's actually less than you would typically think. So you can be targeting a really wide audience with your reach optimizations, and then you can be targeting a similar audience, but with a conversion optimization. Meta knows that only a certain percentage of those people in your potential wide audiences are going to convert. So they will hone in your audience and make it smaller. And just target those individuals. When you're looking at reach, it's a much wider audiences that you're going to go after. I'm using Meta as an example, but similar kind of rules apply for the other channels that we use. But basically that you would use your brand marketing at your top of funnel with your different optimizations, so your reach and engagement, and then you would use your conversion funnel, so which is typically our conversion funnel, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. They would all be optimized towards conversions. So although there might be some overlap, the audience overlap is actually minimal. And what studies have found across Meta and Pinterest is that there's a real good sweet spot when you're using awareness and different optimizations and conversion. When a user is actually hit with both, with different messaging, it actually increases the conversion rate significantly and brings your CPA down.
Nice. So good tips there for anyone that's wanting to run any brand and performance marketing activity together. Cool. I think that's everything I can think of. Brand and performance side of things. Have you got anything else that you want to add?
I think the only thing is as well, like work closely with your organic teams. So what your organic team is effectively doing is brand marketing. They don't have spend behind it, and they're not kind of looking for that end goal. They are trying to raise awareness of the brand and tell the story of the brand. So you can really work closely with them. And the more that your organic team is doing to raise a wide audience, we can then go and use to retarget during peak seasons, and then they can come into our conversion funnel. So really work closely with them, use the content they're producing because it is brand. And yeah, it can really heed like your overall strategy.
Nice. Sounds good. Well, thanks everyone for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the topic of conversation today. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe on wherever you're watching or listening. There'll be plenty more content coming out over the next few weeks. So make sure you stay tuned. Thanks very much.